The season of Lent is generally one that unites the faithful in the communal experience of attending Mass. But with the spread of the coronavirus and the changes to add in some instances the cancellations of public Mass, our spiritual lives have become yet another area impacted by the global pandemic. Joining me now by Skype to talk about how we as Catholics can maintain and strengthen our spiritual connection during these challenging times is Msgr Charles Pope of the Archdiocese of Washington. Msgr, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Msgr, in the season of Lent, how can we as Catholics stay connected and maintain that sense of faith and community if we can't attend Mass?
Yeah, I mean, the liturgy is our life, isn't it? Yeah, it's a very serious blow to some of us that we can't, even for me as a pastor, to not be able to be with my people this weekend. But I will say this much, that we have to remember that maybe in times like these we can be creative. You know, certainly the Mass is available at EWTN. We have the Mass is broadcast. Likewise, at the Basilica, we have a half-hour version of the Mass, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of live streaming. Maybe do a homily and post it this weekend. I'm going to work on the technology for that. But I will say that obviously try to do the readings certainly at home. You can always do those on your own at home, and there may be provisions in certain dioceses where maybe public masses have been canceled, but the pastor is able to give communion out on as people come by during the week. You check that out with your diocese. I'm still not even sure here in Washington what we're going to be able to do with that. Can people still come by and receive communion at certain times? These things haven't been worked out yet.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that we're dealing with. Excuse me. As a pastor, how are you dealing with the issues of religious education and those in RCIA?
Yeah, well, right now, again, we're not forbidden from having other meetings, so we still can do some of that. On the other hand, we tend to have these on Sunday between the Mass and Sunday school. So it's a little bit of a challenge for us, but we might, just because it's so important these last few weeks of Lent to work with our catechumens and candidates, we might try to meet with them at other times. And again, I'm awaiting, these kinds of ththings from our archdiocese where there have been limits put on the Mass, but maybe not other things. So we're not sure yet.
Okay. I know you kind of mentioned this before, but as we all know, no Mass means no Holy Communion. Can you walk us through the process of a spiritual communion and how we can put that into practice?
Yeah, spiritual communion is that we take time and we in a way, it can be a very beautiful thing because it really indicates a longing for communion. Sometimes when it's always available, but when we know it's not available, suddenly we can say, Lord, I miss receiving you, and I long to receive you. And it's even just saying something that similar or that simple is a way to simply say, Lord, I make this spiritual communion come into my heart. You have many other ways to reach me and feed me. And Lord, I trust you, I love you, and more than ever, I need you now.
Yeah. Msgr, what would you tell your parishioners who may be worried during this time?
Well, here I run into a little bit of a problem because I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not worried about this, and I think that we're a little bit worked up right now about something that has a very low risk for most people. Most of us aren't going to get sick. Most of us, a very small number. And look, when it's my time to go, take me, Lord. Maximum promotion, I hope. Go home, be with Jesus. But maybe through purgatory. But I'll get there. But I would say, don't worry. And I know that sounds terrible and trite, but the chances of really getting deeply sick, unless you're very sick already or someone elderly and have other issues, is very, very low. And I think we're talking about a real abundance of caution here. And I do think that we should remember you're not likely to get very sick. So again, but all the disclaimers, Tracy, I'm not an epidemiologist.
That I know, but you do offer a lot of spiritual help to a lot of people. So any other, last words about this, what's going on right now? Any thoughts for our viewers?
I wept last night when I heard I couldn't have Mass, and I just want my people to know, and I want everyone on EWTN to know I love you very much, and I'm going to very deeply miss gathering with the liturgy. But maybe it's a good reminder how precious and beautiful the liturgy is. I was crying. I was very deeply saddened, but I love God's people, and I'm going to miss them this weekend.
Yeah, we'll miss you too. Thank you so much, Msgr, for joining us too, and all that you do. We appreciate it.
Bless you. Thank you.
Msgr Charles Pope of the Archdiocese of Washington and co-host of Morning Glory right here on EWTN. And just a reminder, you can watch daily and Sunday Mass right here on EWTN on weekdays. And Saturday's Mass is broadcast at 8 a.m., noon, and 7 p.m. Eastern. On Sundays, Mass is at 8 a.m. and noon Eastern. Check out EWTN.com for other times.